Hello, I'm Jarg, and welcome back to my beginner's guide to Terraria. Last time, we did some last-minute stuff around the world, and, well, this one we're going to be moving on to hard mode. And before we do that, though, I highly recommend, if you skipped last episode, I highly recommend, out in your world, whichever side has the jungle, on my side is the left-hand side, you want to explore the last fifth of that world to try and find yourself the Aether biome. Most specifically, you want to find this pool of, oh my god, shimmer, that's what it's called, liquid shimmer. I highly recommend you find that, because if you throw in a life crystal, you can get this vitality crystal, which, when consumed, will increase your life regen, and a mana crystal, which, when thrown in, will give you an arcane crystal, which will increase your mana regen. I would highly recommend these two things before moving on to what we're going to be doing. Now, before we get into hard mode, the thing you're going to need is a guide voodoo doll. Now, to get these, as I just slowly drop my way down, you will get them rarely from demons. You will know whether or not a demon will drop you a guide voodoo doll or not if you actually see the voodoo doll in the demon's clutches. If you do not see it, then it's not going to drop it. Now, you need the guide voodoo doll because to summon the boss, you need to take the guide voodoo doll and toss it out into the lava. I'm going to tell you right now, though, doing this will kill the guide. So if you are going to try and summon the boss, make sure the guide is alive. Because once this thing is thrown in, he won't be. Also, I highly recommend that you have some sort of pathway, like I did out here, to go across the world. You don't have to get the entire thing, but making sure that you have enough is highly recommended. Also, one thing I should have done, is if you have any of these items up here, the sharpening station to increase your melee, the bewitching table to give yourself extra minions, or even if you decide to go for this, the war table to give yourself an extra sentry, I would definitely recommend having those, as well as if you have any. Bring any potions and any food and whatnot. And more or less, just make sure you're ready, because this is going to be a boss fight. Oddly enough, this might be the one boss fight that is the most difficult on a small world, because a smaller world means that we have less time to fight. This boss will spawn at whatever side, as far as I can tell, it spawns on whatever side is closest to the edge, or whatever side you are facing. And then we'll move over from that side of the world over to the other one. So if I'm facing right, it'll come from the right and go left. Meaning I have until the edge of the left-hand side of the world to essentially fight this boss. All that out of the way, and I don't care about that demon. Goodbye, Mr. Guide. You served us well. The guide, Kevin has been slain, but the wall of flesh has broken. Can't see him right now, but we do see all of this. See a lot of everything going on right now. First off are these little things, the hungry, I call them the biters. They'll just come out and try to get us. They kind of work as an early defense mechanism to protect this guy. However, they won't last forever. Just keep attacking and just keep shooting at him. And eventually he should fall. I've done a lot of damage thanks to all those beanies I actually carried with me. I'm surprised on that one. I highly recommend bringing in magic or melee, magic or range weapons to fight this guy. We could fight using melee, but it's not something I would recommend, but hey, I mean, if you can do it, you can do it. Like right now, my melee is just that high. And yeah, this was actually very easy. With out of the way, the wall of flesh has been defeated, but ancient spears of light and darkness have been released. So, a bit of a warning. What that means is that, well, that means a couple of things. One, the corruption will no longer be blocked by sunflowers. The corruption can now spread throughout the entire world without any regards. Alongside the corruption / the crimson being able to spread, we also got a new thing, the hollow. However, before we do that, we may actually notice this was made out of stone, and now there are corruptors out here, even stronger than before. Part of the world that you lived in, parts of the world will now be changed. some parts that were perfectly fine before can now be corrupted. And another part of the world can have some other things. Now, before I go on too much, one thing that you will always get from the boss, no matter what, is called this, the Power Hammer. It is strong enough to destroy demon altars. You are probably going to want this. This is not going to be necessary as far as I can tell, and I can already see the corruption is spread out to my world. I'm not happy about that. But yes, we can destroy demon altars with this hammer, which is something that we could not do before. If we had tried it, it would have only damaged us. I do not recommend destroying all of them. I highly recommend keeping 1 or 2 of them. Or at least 1 of them. You only ever need 1. So what's that? By destroying that one, my world has been blessed with palladium. Also, every time you destroy one of these things, a race shows up. So be careful about that. You can get overwhelmed. Destroying a second one gave me mithril. And destroying a third one gave me titanium. So how that works is that this is what I consider the tier 6, 7, and 8 metals. So the tier 6 metals you can get are cobalt or palladium. The tier 7 is mithril or orichalcum, and the tier 8 is adamantite or titanium. Now, as far as I know, you have no way of knowing which metal you're going to get, similar to the first 4 tiers. However, these tiers all have unique abilities based around them. I also want to say that the more altars you destroy, the more resources that will be spawned into the world. I could be mistaken. But whenever I've done this, I've always just destroyed all but one of them just to try and give myself some more resources, and it seems to work out for me. Also, be careful of the corruptors, because they can spit. They can infect more of the world than before. Also, yeah, as we see, I got more palladium. Well, the world is blessed with palladium. So every time you destroy a demon altar, you'll go back to that 1, 2, 3 cycle. Also, the guide will respawn over time. So he's not gone forever just because we threw in the guide voodoo doll. This also means that if I so wish, I could fight the wall of flesh again. Because he does have a bunch of drops. Just like bosses usually do. Also, there was another goddamn thing down here. Dang it! But yeah, I'm just going to go destroy some of these oh, shoot. Gonna destroy some of these demon altars. And one thing I should have mentioned before we even got this far, which I'm upset with myself for not saying before. If you're going to go for these higher tier ores, you need a molten pickaxe to start. I should have mentioned that before. We need the tier... Well, not tier. We need a molten pickaxe in order to get whatever the tier... Yeah, we need the tier 5 pickaxe to get the tier 6. Or to get the tier 6 ore. We cannot get the tier 7 or the tier 8. Alright, here we go. This is one thing I was looking for. This is a new biome. As we can see with the background, this is a completely different place. Also, I know I got rid of this. Oops. This is called the Hollow biome. So, if the corruption / the crimson is the... What's the word what's the proper word I'm looking for? If the corruption is a virus of darkness, the corruption is technically a virus of light. You're gonna find some new creatures out here, from pixies to unicorns. I highly recommend fighting the unicorns for their horns, especially for stuff later on. But yeah, this just like the corruption and the crimson, will spread out into the world and try to take things over. This is essentially meant to be the counterbalance to the corruption, which I was hoping would be a little bit closer to my base, but oh well. Now, I want to say you do need to be careful about the jungle, because I want to say the jungle can be infected by the corruption, but cannot be infected by the crimson. So you want to try and keep that in mind. Also, if you happen to be very close to the corruption, there are ways of dealing with it, such as the Dryad for her powder, her cleansing powder, but there will be other ways of dealing with this later on. I'm not happy with this being so close to my base. Actually, there's something I can do to try and counteract this, now that I think about it. Alright, so back in the Hollow, if we actually dig down a little bit, similar to how there could be the corruption block, there is a new stone called Pearl Stone. This works, again, kind of like the corruption. It is a stone that will actually spread the crimson. That'll spread the hollow, just like how Evanstone will spread the corruption. Now, again, I would say you're probably better off not trying to get either of these. But I mean, to each their own. I believe there is an achievement for completely eradicating all of the corruption and all of the hollow. Well, all the corruption / crimson and the hollow. Well, but that's up to you if you want to do it. And again, there's a much, and I mean a much easier way of doing it than trying to use purification powder. Trust me, you'll be here forever trying to use purification powder and or what's the other thing? And or just like digging it out. But it is an option. Now, one thing I want to mention before I forget. Now that we're in hard mode, unless I'm mistaken, there will be a chance every night that one of 3 bosses can spawn. The bosses will spawn until they are defeated. They are known as the mechanical bosses. So, an upgrade from the Eye of Cthulhu is called the Twins. An upgrade to the Devourer of Worlds is the Devourer of Souls. And an upgrade to Skeletron is called Skeletron Prime. Now, the in-game lore, well, I say in-game, apparently the lore behind them is that they were created by the Mechanic, by an evil group that we haven't seen yet. And the reason there is no mechanical brain is because we, quote, saved the Mechanic before she had to go and bother doing that. Now, oh wait, my guy's not here. Oh, he might not actually spawn here now I think about it. Oh, that ain't good. If the Demo Man's up here, that means his underground home got corrupted. Ooh! Well, I wanted to show off something else, but here we go, Palladium Ore. If I'm going to be completely honest, when it comes to the ores, chances are you're going to be probably skipping ahead just to try and get to the tier 8. However, there's an issue with that. To get from tier 5 to 6, you need the Molten Pickaxe, so you need the tier 5 pickaxe to get the tier 6 ore. Then you need to take the tier 6 ore, turn it into bars, to make a tier 6 pickaxe. Then a tier 6 pickaxe is needed to get tier 7 ore. However, there's an issue. Tier 7... while you can make tier 7 bars, tier 7 bars cannot be crafted into anything because an anvil, a normal anvil, is not powerful enough. So you need to make a tier 7 anvil. And then you need to take... Then you have to waste time making a tier 7 anvil, and then gathering more resources to make a tier 7 pickaxe. And then from a tier 7 pickaxe, you need to make... Well, then you have to make the tier 7 pickaxe, and from that you can get the tier 8 ore. However, a normal furnace is not hot enough, not even a hellstone furnace is hot enough to turn tier 8 ore into tier 8 bars. So you need to turn some of your tier 8 ore, combine it with a hellstone forge in order to create a forge hot enough to turn tier 8 ore into tier 8 metal. It sounds more complicated than it really is. It's not all that complicated, it's just probably more time consuming than anything. And having Spelunker potions to easily find the ore is probably a highly recommended thing to do. And I mean, at this point, you might have the resources just lying out and about in your base. I'd say the most difficult thing is probably the tier 4 ore, that being gold or platinum. Yeah. But here we go. Actually, if you see this guy, he was just spitting out that cursed flame. That is one of two things that well, that's one of the things that are actually biome specific to the corruption. The Crimson has its own equivalent. Also, you may notice these guys are dropping Souls of Night every so often. I believe they can only be found in the underground, but there are 2 orbs that you can now collect in the underground called Souls of Night by fighting in a corruption biome, or Souls of Light by fighting anything in a hallowed biome. Underground hollow. You may also notice you can get some new accessories, like this bandage I got that makes you immune to bleeding, and this clock that makes you immune to slow. You're gonna find a lot of those out in this game now. You do have to keep an eye on it, and I will say, thankfully, they do combine into other things. For example, this clock can be combined with a map to give me the plan, and this bandage can be combined with a Bezoar to make me immune to poison and bleeding. And they combine even further down the line. Unicorn Horn can give you super mana potions. That's a lot of magic. The Rainbow Rod, which is another new magic weapon, requiring Soul of Light, Unicorn Horns, Pixie Dust, Crystal Shards, which are found in Underground Hollow, but Souls of Sight, which is a drop from the twins. So, I talked about these guys earlier, the 3 mechanical bosses. So you got Souls of Sight, which are given you by the twins, Souls of Might, which are given to you by the Destroyer, and Souls of Fright that are given to you by Skeletron Prime. So, you're going to have to fight the bosses to get these things, and you're probably going to need a couple of them. But honestly, one of the most overpowered things you can get are these Holy Arrows, especially for a certain boss coming down the line. They are an arrow that summons falling stars on impact. I won't say too much, but I will say that there is a bow that can turn one arrow into multiple. Combined with that one, you can get so many shooting stars at one time. It's ridiculous and it's awesome, and for the one boss, it might be overpowered. Okay, so I got myself enough Palladium? Palladium. I can now make myself a Platinum Drill or a Platinum Pickaxe. I'm gonna be honest, if you notice this has a -1 range, but it is very fast compared to the Pickaxe, which is fast speed. So you give up range for an faster mining ability. You may also notice that we got some new things, a chainsaw instead of an axe, but we also got the axe. We got a repeater, which is essentially a crossbow. It is a rapid-fire bow, essentially. You got swords, you got axes. Unfortunately, none of this stuff seems to combine into other things. So whether or not that's up your alley is going to be up to you to decide what you want to do. Right now, I'm going to take the drill. Make sure, get that off. I'm not gonna lie, most people will probably not care for the drill, just for that sound effect. And I will not blame you if that is the case. It doesn't bother me, but I'm also used to it. So now I'm gonna go out into the world. I thought I had some Spelunker potion. Yes. I'm gonna go out and get myself some more ore, and I'll be back when I am crafting the next thing. Also, I will probably still pick up Palladium and everything else to make, like, the armor sets just to have them, but I don't plan on, like, fully on using them. Now, if you want to know all the stats and all the bonuses and whatnot, because I actually should mention this, obviously every armor set will have leggings. They'll have leggings and they'll have a breastplate. However, each armor will have 3 unique headpieces. One made for magic, one made for range, and one made for melee. So you don't want to keep that in mind, depending on what you're looking for. Now, as far as I can tell, all 3 helmets will give you the same bonus effect, or set effect. It's just what else you have going with it. Also, before I forget, if you are happening to go... Well, actually, one thing. Because this house is now in a corruption biome, they can't live here. So until I get rid of this corruption, this house is now useless to me. Thanks, game. But if you are going for a summoner set, if you can find one of these, I call them the Spider's Den. You can find Black Recluse. They will drop you Spider Fangs. Spider Fangs can be used to craft, just like Queen Bee, or the Queen Bee and her honey. This can be used to make yourself a new set of armor, as well as a new summoning staff. Highly recommend if you're going for summoning. Even if you're not going for summoning, like, if you're just at this point of the game, it might not be... It honestly might just be a pretty decent, almost set just to have. Okay, well, not what I was expecting to come back to, but two things I just want to point out real quick. One, you can find a wizard underground, as I just did right now, but another thing is the underground merchant, the skeleton merchant, will have some new stuff for sale. If you're going for the yo-yo glove is something I definitely recommend. If you're going for a yo-yo build, trust me, it can be very good. And yeah, just something else to keep in mind if you're going out and about. I'll definitely buy that. That's a lot better in terms of power than what I got. Thank you, buddy. And, well, I'm also in the underground That scared the heck out of me. Underground, hollow. I think it was telling me, no, you idiot. Something to keep your eye out for are these crystal shards. Not all of them are actually shards. Some of them are actually... I can actually get to the dang thing. Some of them are not crystal, but actually a boss summoning item. Keep in mind. Keep your eye out for. Alright, so, while I'm away, I actually had enough to get myself the, missile drill, so I'm going to get that stuff now, which means I can now mine out everything, adamantite and titanium, but I also got myself, assuming that I even want to get that stuff, I also got myself enough palladium to get myself the entire suit. So, I got the leggings and the breastplate, which gets me up to 18. The headgear, which increases my magic damage by 9, my magic damage and strike chance by 9, while also increasing my maximum magic by 60. Giving me a set bonus that increases my life regen after striking an enemy. Thank you very much. Giving me 21 points of defense. Meanwhile, the helmet, that gives me 23 points of defense, increases my range damage, my range crit strike. And the mask increases my melee damage and melee speed, putting me up to 32. Which is slightly better than what I got right now with the molten gear. And at least... Oh yeah, 4 from that. Yeah, well that was a plus 6 to all this. So, this stuff on its own is, in terms of defense, a lot... It's more defensive than what I currently got. Okay, one last thing before I actually make another cut. From the wizard, I actually was able to buy myself a spell tome. I could buy some other things as well, but I wanted to buy this because I know for sure... This stuff can make a couple of different things. Using the crystal shards that you get from the hollow, you can make yourself a crystal storm. If you have the cursed flame from the corruption, you can make the cursed flames. And if you're in a crimson if you had a crimson instead of corruption, you would get some e-core for the golden shower. This one decreases a target's defense, while this one, I want to say, sets them ablaze on fire. And this one just hits them pretty hard. So, if this is, for example, a magic spell that you are looking for, maybe for the damage, or the mana cost, or the crit strike, then yeah, go get yourself a Crimson Wall, get in the hard mode, and go find one of those. And hopefully I'll be back after I find more of what I'm looking for. Oh, shoot! We got a Mimic out here. A Corruption Mimic. These things can be pretty dangerous and hit pretty hard, but if you can kill them, they can usually have some good items out. However, these things, again, they can hit hard and they can sometimes be a real pain to deal with. Thankfully, though, my minions are doing a mighty fine work. They have a large pool of items that they can drop, as well as the fact that they can go into different forms. There are hollow mimics, crimson mimics, which each have their own drop pool. There are just normal mimics, as well as hollowed mimics. I will say, if you can find, I believe it's a hollow mimic, can give you a, if you're going for like a range build, there is a hollowed mimic that can drop you a bow. I think it's called the Deadless Storm Bow. If you're going for a bow build, or just a range build in general, highly recommend it. Combining that with the unicorn horn arrows can make the mechanical boss, the destroyer of souls, think it's Destroyer of Souls. So much, like, a complete and utter joke. Ooh, the air around you is getting colder. That's not good. That means a boss is coming. Shoot. And if I am correct... Oh, I forgot to put that away. I believe that means Skeletron Prime is on his way to come and fight me. I don't know if I'm ready to fight him, but I mean... I am willing to give it a shot. I still only have the equipment I had from when I fought... Blah, 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 blah. The... Destroyer of Wall... the Wall of Flesh. So, I'm gonna hope to get over to the arena where I fought Skeletron the first time. Yeah, so each of the 3 bosses will have their own little bits of dialogue for when they are coming to fight you. I was not expecting to fight any of these guys right now. Like, I do not think I'm actually ready for this, to be completely honest, so I may die. But yeah, like, I think if the one says that you're being watched, it's the twins. Oh, shoot! Oh, full moon! Cool! Didn't think that was going on tonight. Werewolves spawn during a full moon. You have a chance of them dropping you a necklace that can actually let you turn into a werewolf, which will actually give you some buffs to your stats while at night. There we go. Skeletron Prime has been awoken. So just like normal Skeletron, this guy will have extra arms. Well, he'll have his arms and his head. In this case, he has 4 arms. Each one is equipped with a different weapon. One is a chainsaw. One will drop bombs. One is a claw. And one shoots lasers. I want to say the best thing you can do is try to get rid of the arms one at a time if possible. Also, I would say I'm not in the best situation right now. I would have been probably better off going for a yo-yo build than anything else of what I'm doing right now. So yeah, as I was saying, this game gets hard, and this is when it gets hard. Because right now, yeah, this gun is just not doing anything for me. Shoot. Thankfully, I paused the game. Thankfully, I can pause the game. I think I'm getting rid of this for this. Would have been nice if I had if I had other stuff to go with it. But I didn't get that far because I was doing other stuff. Okay, can I get in the honey? Nope, no honey for me. Oh yeah, I'm dying. Gonna say, if I can get rid of some of these arms, I would be in a better situation. Okay, the claw is really being annoying right now. There we go. It's vice grip. God dang it. Oh well. I was not ready for this. But oh well. Something to keep in mind, I completely destroyed the Wall of Flesh. That got completely destroyed by that guy. Well, back to the grind, I guess. Alright, so I've been a bit busy. So I crafted the swords that I got, and honestly, not a big fan of them. I'd rather stick with the Knight's Edge. Like, these are more powerful. This is definitely more powerful. Look at that, 75 to 50. But it doesn't have that much range. It's fast. But I kind of like the full defense I get from the Knight's Edge, so I'm going to say no to those. But I also now have a full set of mithril, as well as titanium armor. So if we can show these off real quick before I call it a video. I also got 2 swords of the spider one. I'll get that other piece on my own time. So I'm at 36 with the melee armor, so let's stick with melee. With my sword at 51 and 7, 51 and 32, so much greater chance of crit. Also up to 41 defense. So this gives me a plus 10% to my melee crit chance. If I put this on, I go from 41 to 31. This gives me a 20% chance to save ammo. And if we put on the magic, I'm down to 28 with a 17% reduction in mana cost. So yeah, as you can see, some of these armor sets are definitely not like the others. Like how this one gives you that increase in life regen, while the other one gives you some maybe not as desirable effects. I want to say you can pretty much figure out what is the original trio and which ones were the new ones added. Because I want to say the originals were Cobalt, Mithril, and Adamantite. With Palladium, Orichalcum, and Titanium being added afterwards, getting some new effects that just aren't shown, that you just don't get with the other ones. And to be honest, it's a little bit sad to me like that. Anyways, let's show off the titanium gear. Starting off with the magic one. So 36 to 34, so right off the bat, almost as much defense as the melee one. This gives me a set bonus that my attacks generate a defensive barrier of titanium shards. See if I can show that off real quick. Yes. No? Okay. I thought just attacking the scrolls would count. Because usually when it's like, oh, just attack something, it means literally just attack something. There we go, I got myself these shards. A defensive barrier surrounds me, which I'm assuming means they either A, deal damage, or B, reduce the damage. Yeah, they actually deal damage. So, 34 with that. If I put on this one, I'm up to 38 with, again, the increase of protection. And this one takes me up to 53 with the protection, 51 and 19. Compared to the 7 and the 36. So, I'm better off in terms of defense now. I have this titanium ring around me, this titanium barrier, which makes me a little bit better off, especially if I get into a fight. Am I prepared, though, to fight the boss? Any of the bosses? And to be completely honest, I don't know. However, that is something that I guess will have to be done next time, because this has been going on for long enough. At least for me. This has definitely been at least an hour and a half worth of recording that is going to get edited down, which is fine. But, yeah. If you happen to have the other medals, and if you don't like them, your best option is to, unfortunately, create another world, defeat the Wall of Flesh, destroy the... what are they called? The altars, and see if you can get what you're looking for. Now, you have to defeat the Wall of Flesh. Unless that got changed from an update, you cannot destroy a demon altar without the Wall of Flesh in that world having been destroyed. So that is my warning to you. Otherwise, I'm probably going to go out into the world, see if I can find myself some mimics, which you actually can create a mimic, combining Sword of Light or Sword of Night. Hold on. Mr. Guide, if you can help me out with this thing real quick. Also, you can make the Mechanical Skull, Mechanical Eye, Mechanical Worm. But what I'm most interested is these. A Key of Night, and you would have the opposite, a Key of Light. So, if you take this souls, turn into a key, put the key into an empty chest, that chest will turn into a mimic. And I believe it becomes a Corruption Mimic or a Hollow Mimic. You can't get, like, a normal Mimic. So again, if you want to try and get that Deadless Stormbow, just put a key in a chest. You can probably find, you probably have found, like, a bunch of chests down the world. They can just sacrifice or just make your own. And yeah, I highly recommend if you're gonna do something like that, go for the spiders, like I have on right now. I highly recommend it because these spiders are not only powerful, but they can like stop, not completely stop, but definitely slow an enemy in their tracks. Either way, I've been going on for long enough. So until next time, so long, farewell, have fun, and try not to die. Because I know the mechanical bosses are going to do their best to ensure your death. Also, beware the sky. I'm not going to say why, but I'm just going to tell you, beware the upper parts of your world. Until then, have yourself a fantastic day, and if you have any questions or anything I didn't answer, feel free to ask. Until then, later.